Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for this award and this honor. And thank you to all of you for being here to bless us. And to the incredible young leaders at Sunrise Movement, this is yours. Many of those moments that we have called upon the sit-in at Nancy Pelosi's office and many more were created in large part due to the work of people sitting in this room right now. Wallace Global Fund has just been a stalwart supporter of young people like me taking a chance on big ideas since day one and seeing with sharp eyes and open hearts the potential of today's youth to change the world. So it's also momentous to be here on the 84th anniversary of the inauguration of the Works Progress Administration. And in an urgent move to pull America out of a disastrous economic nosedive, FDR signed the WPA, a program that over 7 years employed 8.5 million, built thousands of new schools, hospitals, bridges, paved hundreds of thousands of roads, planted millions of trees, invested in the arts, elevated families out of the Depression, and more. And it's worth noting that the bill authorizing the WPA was one of dozens of major legislative acts that made up the New Deal, each of them reforming an entire industry or creating a government agency with new sweeping powers. And we can imagine that it will be true in our time as well, should the Green New Deal come to pass. We know that to address the climate crisis in line with the demands of science, we must fully overhaul our energy system, our transit infrastructure, our agricultural systems. And we know that to support these transformations will require a revival of our education system, to equip people young and old with the jobs and skills of the 21st century, and it will require changes in how we organize our workforce, notably through a federal job guarantee program. And we know that to do all of the above in a manner that is just and is humane, we must strengthen our social safety net by ensuring a universal right to health care and investing in a way that creates ownership amongst African Americans, indigenous communities, and others who have been historically extracted from in this economy. So for Sunrise, the Green New Deal cannot be reduced to the non-binding resolution that's currently in Congress, nor can it be reduced to any other single piece of legislation. The Green New Deal is a governing agenda for the 21st century. It is a reimagining, a recalibration of the very values that govern our society. It signals a departure from and an indictment of the last 40 years of corporate capture of our government, of an economic system that creates winners and losers, that consolidates our massive, enormous wealth as a nation in the hands of a few, fostering the greatest levels of inequality we have seen in a century. Any person living in this country, no matter the color of your skin or how much money you have in your pocket, you can be guaranteed a job, clean air and water, access to health care, a safe home, and a life free from harm, violence, and fear. And this will require a Herculean effort from all of us. To build a governing coalition will require a much more aligned, focused, and ambitious movement ecosystem than we have right now. It will require a 50-state organizing strategy, a candidate pipeline, an integrated communications operation to rival the sophistication of a presidential campaign. It will require innovative policy work and a mass mobilization arm with millions of people activated and disrupting business as usual. But what I do know is, if we aren't measuring our efforts every day against the full scope of social power that we must build, then we are certain to fail and witness the unraveling of everything that we know and love in the process. So with this in mind, I am thrilled to share our intentions for the gift that Wallace Global Fund has bestowed upon us today. We will be using half of the money to strengthen our training and leadership development program. The power of Sunrise Movement comes from the tens of thousands of young volunteers around the country. Our first event was a 30-person leadership training in June of 2017. And it's remained a priority ever since. Since January, we've had over 500 people graduate from our intensive orientation program. Supported by this award, we will bring on 20 full-time fellows to train and offer deep leadership development to an additional 2,000 young people in dozens of states. We will become a more disruptive, militant, and larger army of young people than we are today. We will be investing the other half to support a network of groups to build a strong, inclusive Green New Deal coalition. As tens of thousands of Sunrise members raise our voices, we know that many other groups must rally as well. From communities on the front lines of fossil fuel pollution, to the farmers who grow our food, to the small businesses and co-ops building a new economy, to people of faith who carry a moral vision for our future, we intend to support all of these groups and more to raise our collective voices in unison. What the climate crisis demands of all of us is to become political revolutionaries. Our generation never asked to bear the potential demise of humankind on our shoulders, and yet here we are. FDR once said, "We always held to the hope, the belief, the conviction that there is a better life, a better world, just beyond the horizon." So thank you to Wallace Global Fund and all of you here for helping make the sun rise.